Welcome back to another Grow Together podcast. My name is Anna McGuire, and today's conversation is coming all the way from North Central University in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Kristie Kerr, who's our Network of Women's Ministers Director there at North Central University, has a conversation with two phenomenal young women, Kaylie Crabtree and Skylar Schroeder. And they have a conversation around the idea of restore. And there's a point in the conversation where they share about what they do in the midst of disappointment. How do they see that God brings healing, restoration, whether it be a disappointment in ministry or everyday life, whatever it could look like. And I was reminded how refreshing it is to hear other people share what their best practices are to stay spiritually healthy, to be able to recover from disappointment. And I believe that today, that as you listen to these two young women who are full of wisdom, that you'll be encouraged to as you're on your journey in ministry and life.
Well, welcome everyone. My name is Kristie Kerr, and I serve as the representative at North Central University for the Network of Women Ministers. And I'm here with two of our fabulous students from North Central University, Kaylie and Skylar, and we are going to be talking today just a little bit about Restore, the theme that we've been going through in all of the campus videos, and some of your experiences as female students studying ministry. So thanks for being with us today. So the first question I wanted to ask you is just tell us a little bit about your call to ministry. What brought you to North Central to study for full-time vocational ministry? A little bit about what you're studying and how you got here. You want to start, Kaylie?
Yeah, I'll start. Well, I come from a very heavy ministry family. Okay. I'm now the fourth generation to be licensed with the Assemblies of God, which is very exciting. But at the same time, I remember when I was really young, I was like, absolutely not. Do I want to be in ministry? I know too much. I don't want to do that. Don't sign me up for that. Yeah. And so I had all these other ideas about what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like, I wanted to be a doctor. I want to be a journalist. Just anything except for being a pastor. Yeah. But then once I was in high school, I ended up going to a Christian high school. And so when in my junior year, we switched from having chapel once a week to 5 days a week, which is honestly a pretty bold choice given that you're working with like high schoolers, and not everyone at the school was necessarily a Christian. And so a teacher came up to me and asked me if I would like assist with planning the chapels, because I was doing well in my Bible classes. They knew I like came from a church family. I was involved in my youth group. And I was like, it wasn't that I was like, oh, I want to be a pastor and so I'm going to do this. I was like, oh, there's a need. I probably have, some skills that I could bring to the table. Like, why not? Like, it seemed right with the Lord for me to do it. But it was in no way like, I'm going to go into ministry and so I need to do this. It was like, okay, I can help out in this area, sure. And then that's where the
sneak attack.
Yes, no, that's where the Lord got me and definitely was like, hee, got you. And so then once I started getting to help with planning chapel, it gave me opportunities to preach in my high school, to plan small groups, to kind of get almost a mini pastoring experience while I was like 16, 17, and 18. Mm-hmm. And so over the 2 years that I was helping with our chapel program is when the Lord was like, this is what I've made you for. And now you can believe me because you started doing it. And I think I'm the type of person I needed to do the thing before I could fully be like, okay, I'm in. I'll go to school for it. I'll do all the things or whatever. And then the Lord just started opening doors for me to start preaching even at 16 years old. Little youth events and youth groups and all of that. And I genuinely felt like this is what I was made to do. And at that point I was like, okay, well, I won't be a journalist then. I will be a pastor, Lord. And so that's what then led me to coming to North Central. I genuinely felt when I visited, even though I was from all the way in Massachusetts, in no way nearby Minnesota, when I came on campus and I met with some of the professors, especially like Dr. Tennyson, from that first conversation, I was 18, a senior in high school. I have not signed my name on the line yet to come to North Central. He was so encouraging and so supportive in just one conversation. He was expressing how, they would help me, plan my classes so I could be really challenged and give me these different opportunities. And out of all those other schools that I talked to, I was like, how how could you believe in me so much and I'm not even one of your students yet? And so I was like, that is the kind of support system that I know that I want and need, to be in a place that is going to challenge me and call me to do, things that I wouldn't even imagine doing.
Right, yeah.
And give me the opportunities, but also be there encouraging and supporting. And that is definitely what has characterized my experience at North Central, is being given opportunities that I had never done before and was challenging in the best way possible, and yet had this huge support system of staff, faculty, and my peers that were encouraging and cheering me on. And now I graduated at the beginning of this month, and I can say with so much confidence that I feel so prepared for ministry because of the opportunities that North Central handed me.
Oh, that's awesome. I love hearing your story. That's amazing. It's so cool, because it is for a lot of people. They find that they start doing the work and they never would have considered themselves, I'm going to be a pastor. And we've had that happen with a lot of people in our church. They start serving, and then we'll go like, wait a minute, this is what you're doing. What you're doing is ministry. So that's really cool that that's the kind of your pathway. How about you?
Yeah. Well, I was kind of in the same boat. I did not want to be a pastor. I grew up in church starting at 6 years old, but I'll be a first generational pastor. So grew up in a family that went to church, and I loved it. My mom was a worship leader all growing up, so I'd be there sitting in the pews during her practice like, I want to do that. Like, I loved my mom and I loved it. And when she started me with worship, I just felt the Lord like kind of honing something into me, and I was like, okay, what is this? But I was still a kid. But I think it was when I was 14 at a youth convention, I was called into ministry, and I was like, I'm so excited. What does this mean? And I go to my mom, I was like, I don't know what this means. None of you are pastors, but I love our church. I grew up in such a healthy church. My in-laws were the pastor, and I loved it so much. And so, I kind of dove into that, but I kind of had other life goals. I really wanted to be a dance teacher or to do something with my life.
I didn't know you dance?
Yes.
Amazing.
I did dance for 10 years, and I was like, that is my goal. That is my dream. And then the Lord kind of was like, Skylar, you're going to go to North Central, and you're going to be a worship pastor. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to, but I think it was General Council of 2021, and he's like, Skylar, I've called you, and you're going to do this. And I really had to take a step of trust of like, okay, God, I don't know if I'm enough, but I know you're enough and you're worthy. And so I'm going to step into the call. And I came to North Central. I saw it. I went to apply to a couple other schools, but I was like, North Central just has the culture and just support. Like Kaylie was saying, I've never felt so supported to be in ministry before like I did when I come to North Central. And now I'm not on the track to be a worship pastor. He kind of involved my calling to be like a pastor, traveling, preaching to students who also felt like me, who I was like, I don't know what my purpose is, but I know you have a calling on my life. So how do I discover your purpose in your word and your plan? And I'm going to be a senior at North Central, Bible and theology major, coming with a minor, also a music pastor. And I'm just so excited. And I'm excited.
That's awesome. I love it. So what are some of the things, you're going to be a senior, you just graduated. Tell me some of the things specifically about being a female in studying for ministry. What are some of the things that you've experienced over the last few years that have really helped you as a woman to grow into the roles? Because you said, I feel ready. So tell me, what are the things that made you feel ready? What were some of the unique things that you felt like prepared you, especially when it comes to being a female, which sometimes can have different challenges? So what are some of the things that have helped you?
Obviously, I have to shout out some of the things that we've done on campus. I remember my sophomore year, so it had been your freshman year, some of us female students in the College of Church Leadership came together, and we love all of our church leadership faculty, but we did feel like there was just a lack of female professors. And there was no hate towards any of our male professors. Tennyson, absolutely so supportive, just cheering us on. But just in terms of wanting mentorship opportunities, it just felt like there was a little bit of a discrepancy.
Just the logistics of it. It was just what happened to be male professors, which is common in a lot. There's not a lot of female, which is why you're going to go be a female theologian.
Exactly. But with that, a group of us students came together, all female church leadership students, and we took our frustration and kind of we want to see change, and rather than just complaining and whatever, we came up with a proposal of creating a mentorship program. And once we vocalized that to the dean of our college, the president, it was received with so much support. It was like, we love this. What do we need to do to make this happen? And so just as a sophomore, getting that kind of response from our administration, I was like, oh, let's do this thing. And so we were able to set up a mentorship program to pair our female church leadership students with local female pastors in the Minnesota area. Thanks, especially to your help.
Oh, I loved it. Love it.
But it's also because the students, like Kaylie and the other students, they reached out to girls. Like, that's how I came involved with the women ministry. And like, one invitation is all it takes to bring women to feel so valued, which Kaylie was such a great example of that. And so to like take the step of like, we want to see women to pour into the women ministers who are growing up in the college. And so it takes one person.
And it was so cool for me because then I reached out as a pastor in the district. I just started texting and calling all of my friends that are also pastors in the district, and their response was, of course, we would love to pour. So it's so cool how God works when you're willing to say, okay, let's find a solution to this. Let's figure out what would be impactful. And just you group of students coming up with that. We've done 3 years now of mentorship, and every year I still get emails beforehand. Hey, as soon as you're ready, I'm ready to mentor another student. Or even some of them are like, I hired whoever I mentored. Yeah. So things like that. So I love that, just that one step of faith and like you said, the support of the administration to make it happen, and then the support of the district and the support of, it just shows you that there is a lot of goodwill. Because sometimes you face obstacles and you start to think like, ugh, are there walls built up around me? Well, sometimes there's old things built up around you, but people are more than ready to help tear down all those walls once we identify them, and then we can work together to serve. So I love that. How about you? What other experiences have been a part of kind of your support?
I think definitely like coming in, like the professors were huge because I came from a family who weren't from pastors, but I grew up with pastors who were so supportive of women in ministry. And I was in an internship at my hometown church, and I got to preach with him. Like, I got to be in the crowd, like be there and pour into the conversation. But that was because he lifted me up and said, I see the potential, but I see the calling in you. And I see that within our professors where they're like, I don't just see your potential, I see the Lord's anointing in you. And that's so important because sometimes we can feel so discouraged when we don't see opportunities coming or we see rejection. But that one is like, you trust in the Lord, you trust in his calling, and he will lead you. And so the staff here they exude that, and it's so beautiful. And I think as a woman going into ministry, North Central has just been such a cultivating space of love and support.
Good. Well, we are proud of you guys. we are, absolutely. Okay, I have one last question. So the theme for this podcast series is restore. So that's a great word. I always think of Psalm 23 where he says, he restores my soul. Like that's a passage I come back to over and over again, because I think in ministry, you go through hard times. As college students, you go through hard times. Personally, you go through hard times. And that idea that our souls need restoring is a beautiful picture that we go through things and we'll make it through, but there's always a little residual damage after you go through something hard, you know? And how do you go back and you allow the Lord to do the repair in those places? So I wanted to just talk a little bit about what are some of the personal things you do for that process of restoring, some practices you've put in your life, whether it's ministry disappointments or whether it's just being a college student, you know, whatever you're going through. What are some of the things the Lord has taught you about restoring that part of your souls that needs to constantly be tended to?
I think taking a step back and entering into a season of reflection has something he's taught me, because we're rushing so much, and like I'm an achiever, and I think I'm like, I need to do all these big opportunities. I need to strive for all these things. And he's like, reflect on what I've done for you and reflect on the goodness I've brought you through, because when I'm not seeing those big things, I get discouraged, but he's working all along the way. And so he's kind of teaching me where it's like you just sit and you're like, my eyes are set on him. My eyes are set on you, nothing else, and you will restore my soul because you are my peace. Nothing else is, you are my peace and you restore my soul. And so I reflect back, I take a step back from everything, and I'm like, who is my peace? Okay, the Lord is. I'm okay. I'm reflecting on his goodness. And I can just be okay in the times where it's so hard and so just fast paced.
Yeah. Oh, that's great, because it is. Sometimes you just forget to stop and look and see the goodness of God and the faithfulness of God. And when we do, it makes everything settle down just a little bit.
Right.
How about you?
Something that I've started to practice from what we learned in personal formation with the Dr. Graham. In that class, at some point, you have to do a 2-hour silence and solitude, like, retreat.
Wow.
But, I did it in, like, my dorm room or whatever. So you don't actually, like, necessarily go somewhere. But that was the first time I'd ever tried something like that, where you're literally just sitting there and you're trying to be quiet, which, if you spend any amount of time with me, is not something I'm very good at. But even in that practice and, like, the spiritual discipline, how it's been practiced throughout history, you're not even necessarily, like, meditating on scripture always. You're not playing music. You're not doing all of these other things that are good that I think sometimes we always are trying to incorporate into our time with the Lord. That what I've realized, and I identify with Skylar a lot with how busy things are, being someone who's naturally a go-getter and achiever, is my mind never stops racing. The second I open my eyes in the morning, I'm thinking about something, to-do list, whatever it is. And so the Lord has really challenged me, even specifically for this summer, to as many times a week as possible, even if it's just for 5 minutes, to practice some silence and solitude. And so my roommate probably is like, what is she doing when she wakes up in the morning? And I just am sitting there at the kitchen table or on the couch or whatever. And yet there have been times where, something really hard may be going on at home or with school, and to actually take even 5 minutes to sit down and being like, I'm trying to sit here and calm my mind before the Lord, is sometimes I end up having a very, like, emotional response where I was like, Lord, I didn't know I needed this. And even to focus on the fact that when we pray and we're worshiping the Lord, we don't always need to use our words or our voices. Like, there is a time and place for that. But I think in a world that we live in where it's go, 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 noises, stimulation, everything is just in your face, screens, all of that, to actually remove all of that and sit before the Lord silently, it keeps me in awe, and it keeps me reminded of, okay, you're God and I'm not. And I actually love that. I can rejoice in that and find peace in that you're going to figure it out. And so to even take those 5 minutes sometimes in the morning or longer when I can, and just be seriously and legitimately just quiet before the Lord, has really ministered to me and helped me calm my mind, try to set a tone for my day where I'm like, everything I do today, I want to just be aware of your presence like I am right in this moment.
There's something about it's like almost, now your generation doesn't know antennas. We used to have antennas on our TV and radio, and you'd move them around until you could lock in, the signal. And I feel like it's kind of like that, where it's that moment of silence, especially starting your day out that way. It's like you're like, I'm tuning into your voice now so that I'm locked into it for the rest of the day and I'm attentive to what you're saying. My mentor this summer challenged me, Dr. Gill, she challenged me, okay, I want you to do silent prayer. And she said, and not only do I want it silent, I want it wordless.
Right.
Okay. You should try it.
That's great.
I'm terrible at it, because meaning no words in your mind. So, normally I'm in silent prayer, but my mind's going, dun, 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 dun,
Right.
So the challenge was even more like no words, just presence. Just sitting in the I know. And so try it, because I'm terrible at it. And so I literally have to just sit, and it takes so long to just get my mind to stop, which clearly she knows what she's doing, because that's the point of not coming with all of that stuff. And sometimes I even would come silently, but my mind was still racing. And so wordless prayer became a new challenge for me in my time with the Lord. So I love that. That's awesome. Well, it's true. We do need that restorative moments. And I love that you both have some really consistent practices that seems like will serve you well moving forward in life and ministry as things get hard and challenging, and that you have been equipped with some really great tools. So thanks for being with us today. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, and thanks for joining us. God bless you. Have a great day.